also called the Sophia Century. And this century is when women, when we step up and we take our rightful role and we co-equal partnership with the men, and the world will come into balance.
I did a little bit of thinking about the world and then how it's evolving right now, and the conflict in Ukraine, and all those like big news coming just rolling every day, right?
Yeah.
So how would the world be different if let's say women were participating in a bigger role in this whole situation? What do you think?
Wow, that is a good question. Thank you for asking. So one thing what we find is there's something is happening really big right now for women.
Yeah.
Something really big. And there's an energy right now that is driving women to step up and to play a bigger game so that we can influence the future of the world. As the traditional role for women has changed over the last 20, 30 years, now what happened is what we see is women, we are first time in this generation free from taking care of children, free from just be on a survival mode and put food on the table for the family. For the first time in history, in our generation, women, we are free to pursue our dream, to self-actualize. This is a really big thing right now. So women right now, millions of women, we are feeling the impulse to contribute, to create, to be heard, to be seen. We want meanings in our life. We want self-expressions. We want to contribute, and we want to feel aliveness in ourselves. So, as the glass ceiling that has been holding women back for centuries, it has shattered right now. The opportunities for women to participate in the world expand, and we take up roles and make important decisions globally nowadays. So back to your question. Now what we see for women leaders, and what we're going to see more in the future is women, we lead from the heart. We lead from the heart instead from the head. And what we see is right now, 99% of the money is controlled by the top 1% of the population in the world. When women lead, when women make global decisions, what we're going to do is we're going to redistribute wealth. And we are going to put money to flow for the highest good for all the people in the world, instead of having the money stuck in the small percentage of the people. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a world that with the highest value for preservation of the nature, build on community, and then empower one another. In addition, we're going to create an education system that is focused on transformation. And we are going to learn what quantum physics, what quantum science is telling us nowadays. To be honest, with my kids, they go to school nowadays, they're learning the same thing again and again. And that was the same thing 50 years ago. It hasn't changed. So the education has to change so that it can impact our thinking. When our thinking change, we have become creative. We come up with a new solution for the world. And business, we will mandate business to have a mission that is to be good for the world instead of the best of the world. And the economical system right now, they are not going to be just focused on profit. They're not going to just focus on growth. They are going to be focused on what is good for the people around the world, what is good for the community. And we're going to build the planet we are going to create a world that is better for the generations to come. Yeah, so that is my answer for your question.
Wow, that's a lot of input right there. Yeah, I like the idea, but I guess just to follow up on this, like, because this seems like an advocation that can probably be achieved regardless of the gender, right? So why do you think the world is almost kind of stuck because of like how you described it, and why women can be able to break this barrier instead of uh, like keeping like staying stagnant where the world is? Yeah, what's your opinion on that?
So to right now, if you really look at the world right now, we are living under the feeling of fears.
Right.
If you turn on in North America, we call it CNN News. It's the largest American broadcast, right? If you turn on the news, they're talking about what? What are they talking about? They're talking about the war, they're talking about the economy, they're talking about inflation. All these are fear-based. And people are so attracted to that right now, and it's causing a lot of fear. And so when it causes a lot of fear, and people are starting to like become selfish, they become self-centered. It's like, it's about me. It's not enough. It's not enough. So I have to go and get it. I have to get more and more and more at the expense of other people. Money should be a currency of love and commitment, not something that you have to accumulate. And now what we see is the money that make people blindly to do anything regardless of the consequences. And we should create a community that we value women, men, boys, and girls equally. And we would collaborate, co-labor instead of competition. So for women, if we really step up and step into the role and really commit to build a better world than we found it, the generations behind us is going to really enjoy the result of this. So it's really time for women to step up and step in to take up the role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's that kind of reminds me of, because I remember you previously brought up this kind of ideology. It's not only coming from what we thought of, and it's also like indigenous people practice that too. And then there's multiple cultures that have similar ideas, right? Can you share that? Because I didn't know the details, but I kind of want to know more about
Right. So I work with my mentor, Lynn Twist, who is a co-founder for the Pachamama Alliance, and which is an organization that work very closely with the indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest. And what they do is they're trying to preserve the rainforest. So there is a prophecy from the indigenous people. So what they say is that there's a different group of indigenous people living in the Amazon rainforest. That the two of the largest indigenous people in the rainforest are called the Baha'i people and the Cherokee people. So they have been saying there's a prophecy that has been for millennium of years about this particular time in history. So if you're alive at this time, you have a role to play. So what these prophecies say is, to really think about it, is this is the first century of the third millennium that we're living in right now. And we're only 23 years into this millennium. And so this is a century and a new millennium starting at the same time. So what they were saying that this century is also called the Sophia century. And this century is when women, when we step up and we take our rightful role and we co-equal partnership with the men, and the world will come into balance. And the prophecy also say that the birth of humanity has two great wings, the male wings and the female wings. For hundreds of years, the male wing is fully extended, developed, but the female wing is folded. It's not fully expressed itself yet. And so the male wing has been going really hard trying to keep the bird alive and flying. And it has become so muscular and so aggressive, and the bird is flying in a circle. And when you're going in a circle, we're going nowhere. And only in this century, Sophia century, the female wing will fully extended and fully expressed. For the first time in centuries, in thousands and thousands of years, the two wings will fully open up and help each other to fly, and the humanity bird for this century will soar. So that is what the prophecy is saying. Only if women now we step up.
Yeah, I actually like the analogy of comparing it to a bird, and then where you have like one really strong wing and then the other one is so you will always end up flying in circles if you don't have both wings, I guess. But then that leads to the next question. So what do you think like a male dominant society is missing that female can complement?
Right.
So you have both wings.
Right, that is a good question. You know, there's a research that was done by a few of the researchers. It's called Adena Doctrine. The Adena Doctrine, they go to different countries. They interview different people, from CEO to just a housewife. So they're gathering a lot of information to the point that they say, in this century, the world is craving, is hungry for the feminine energy. So the feminine energy is compassion, loving, connection, building community, love, peace, to the point that the owner of the research was saying that the feminine energy is going to be the most dominant energy to lead humanity. So one thing I want to say is every woman here, if you're alive at this time, you have a gift for you to express. No other people, no other man or woman has this gift but you. Okay? So women uniquely for hundreds of years, if you think about it, we communicate. The men went out to go hunting. They gather food, they bring home to the women. What do the women do at home? They take care of the children, they gather other women, they sit down, and they come out with a possible solution for their problem. Right? And in these modern days, women, we have the privilege. We have the ability to move past just survival. So now it is a time for us to ask what really mattered to me. In one precious life, one shot, when you put your head to the pillow one last time, what really mattered to you? I believe there's a part for us to unleash the genius in us. Something really mattered to you, mattered to me, for us to bring forth into the world.